In this video, I'm going to introduce you to the basics of combination brushes. What you see here is an outline brush, and to make it, I simply used the monoline brush that we created in our last tutorial. Let's duplicate that twice. We're going to slide to the right in order to select both of them, and I'm going to move them into this brush library here that I made called Combo. It's important to note whichever brush you select first is the one that is your primary brush, and it will affect everything that happens to the secondary brush. So you select one brush and then you swipe to the right on the other to select them both, and then up at the top right, click Combine. And now we go into the brush, and you see we have a primary brush and a secondary brush. The first thing we're going to do is we will tap on either the primary or the secondary to open up this combination mode screen, and we're going to change it from normal to difference, and that causes our brush to disappear over here on the right, and that's okay. We're going to go to properties. We're going to take the maximum size of our primary brush and we're going to put it at 75, and we're going to put the minimum size to 20. And then we're going to go into the secondary brush, which causes our brush to appear on the right now. We're going to go to the properties there, and so your primary brush does not get overridden by your secondary brush, we're going to change its size as well to something smaller, so it's always contained inside the dimensions of your top brush, your primary brush. So we're going to go maximum size of 70 and a minimum size of 4. And that way you'll have a consistently thick line when you use this brush. We're going to go to About This Brush, and we're going to rename here. It looks like we're renaming the secondary, but we're actually naming the combination brush. And we're going to call this Outline Brush. And click Done, create a reset point, save it, and done. The way this brush works is as long as you do not lift your stylus off the screen, every time you cross the line, the primary brush in this combination has an effect of basically wiping out everything below it and taking precedence. However, if you lift your stylus and then make another one, it does not wipe out what's underneath it, and you end up with this black cross here. There are two ways of dealing with this. You can either use your eraser, make it really small, and manually erase where the cross is. It's very difficult when you do it this way to make it look like you didn't have to do any work. As you can see, it looks a little messy there in the middle. Another way of doing this is, instead of erasing like that, create a new layer and draw on top of it. You still get the cross, the lines meeting in the middle, but we duplicate our top brush, which for me is layer 6, and we turn the top layer 6 off. On the first layer, which is my layer 5, I'm going to do an automatic selection And then I'm going to go up to my second layer and clear. Then I'm going to highlight the duplicate of the second layer, and I'm going to select it. It doesn't have to be visible in order to select it. And then I'm going to go to my first layer and clear it. I can then delete the extra layer and merge those two down, and there you have it. So that's the way I prefer to do it. It looks cleaner in my opinion. Now what you will probably want to do is experiment with these brushes. What happens if you change the maximum size of this to something smaller? Well, your outline will get thicker. It'll act just the same, but you'll have the thicker outline. Let's see, we need to name this outline brush now that we've changed it. And create the reset point, and done. And there we are, we have our outline brush. Now this is not the only brush you can do this with. If we go into inking, let's take this syrup brush here and duplicate it twice. And we're going to move these into our other library. And we're going to do the exact same thing with this one that we did with the monoline brush. We're going to combine, set the blend mode to difference. Under properties, 75 and 20. And that gives us this, but you notice as you press down really hard, that line gets really, really thin. This demonstrates why you want to change your secondary brush so that it does not get larger than the primary brush. So we'll do 70 there, we'll do 4 there, and now you get a more consistent line. And we're going to call this outline variable. Create the reset point, save it, and done. And it will work exactly the same way as the regular outline brush. And you would get rid of the cross things whenever you lift up your cursor in the exact same way that you would with the outline brush. This makes a very good outline script. So this is a very nice brush to have. And now what we're going to do is we'll go to a third brush. Under drawing, we have this Blackburn brush. We're going to duplicate it twice and move it into our working folder here. And we'll hit combine. And we will treat it exactly the same way. Change this to difference. And let's take a look at the properties. Make this 75 and 20. and then make this one 70 and 4. And this gives us a messy taper. You have to be careful on the cross lines here because it's a little bit hard to get rid of the messy taper and make it look okay. We're going to take this, about this brush, we're going to call it messy taper. Create the reset point and save it. And then one of the things that you have to know about combination brushes is you cannot combine an already combined brush, but you can split it up and then combine pieces of it with other ones. So if we go up here to Artistic, we will find this Wildlight brush right here, and we will duplicate it twice, move it into our working folder. Oops, we didn't mean to do that one. Put that one back into Artistic. Interesting. I was not aware it would do that. Well, now we know. If we try to combine this, we get a message saying combine brush selected, uncombined brush to continue. So we'll delete this extra one. We're going to go in here, tap twice on our secondary, tell it to uncombine, and I want the wildlife, but I don't want the watercolor, so I'm going to delete that. We'll go back into Artistic, and we're going to take a copy of Aurora, and let's move that into our working folder. And Aurora is not a combination brush, and now our Wildlight is not a combination brush. So we'll select Wildlight first, and then Aurora, and then we'll do a combine. And let's change this to difference. And that gives us this really messy brush. Let's test it out and see what it does. That makes a very blotchy layer in there. What good is it, you ask? Well, I have this picture that I did in another tutorial on how to color a black and white picture. Let's take a sort of a sepia. We're going to blotch this on top like this. And then if we change our blend mode, we can actually make your picture look like it is a vintage photograph. Even under normal, you just simply lower the opacity. But check out what all the different things do. Overlay adds a very subtle effect. Hard mix makes it look very freaky, as does difference. Subtraction does. Divide looks weird. We got hue, saturation, color, and luminosity. So that's something that you can do with that. And speaking of do with different things. Let's put this back on normal. And then I'm going to clear it. Let's take layer 2 here. We have intro to combo brushes. I'm going to duplicate that so that I don't destroy the one beneath. We're going to have to manually select the areas. Do an automatic selection and select everything that is not a part of the letter. And now when we do the fill, what we end up with is, because the layer beneath has all kinds of different colors, is you end up with a multicolored text. So that's a nice effect to use. So what we've got here today is we've got our outline brush. We've got this wild light, which we turned into a messy texture. So I'm just going to call this messy. We've got a variable outline, and we've got a messy taper. I hope this introduction has helped you out and that you have a little bit better understanding of how the combination brushes work, so that whenever you see them in their various incarnations, you will know why they work the way they do. The primary brush at the top always affects the secondary brush. In the case of Blackburn, the primary brush causes the secondary brush to get washed out and everything. And the secondary brush is just putting an inner texture where the primary brush allows it. All right, I hope this has helped you out, and I hope you have a wonderful day.